Jesus walks up to a tree on the side of the road, finds no fruit on it, and speaks a curse over it. By the next morning, it's dead, withered from the roots up. It's one of the strangest things he ever does, and it happens in the final week of his life. This is Monday of what's now called Holy Week. Jesus has just entered Jerusalem to crowds shouting his name, and he's walking from Bethany back into the city when he sees a fig tree in leaf, full and green from a distance. He's hungry, so he goes to check it for fruit. There isn't any, just leaves. And here's the detail most retellings leave out entirely. Mark states plainly that it wasn't even the season for figs. The tree was never going to have fruit. Jesus knew that. He curses it anyway. May no one ever eat fruit from you again. That's the whole curse. Quiet, almost offhand. His disciples hear it. Nobody objects out loud. They just keep walking toward Jerusalem. Skeptics have used this exact detail for centuries. A rabbi cursing a tree for not doing the one thing that tree could not possibly have done at that time of year. Read on its own, it looks less like a miracle and more like an unfair outburst. But Mark doesn't let the story sit by itself. He splits it into two halves and puts something else directly in the middle. A literary technique scholars now call a Markan sandwich, where the outer story explains the inner one. Because the very next thing Jesus does, that same day, is walk straight into the temple and overturn the tables of the money changers, driving out the people buying and selling there, quoting the prophets, "You have made it a den of robbers." The temple, like the fig tree, looked full from a distance. Leaves everywhere, activity, commerce, religious business as usual. And like the fig tree, when Jesus went looking for what it was actually supposed to produce, he found nothing. Quick note before we go further. If a detail like this, one most Sunday sermons skip entirely, is new to you, that's exactly the kind of thing this channel exists to dig into. A like helps more people find this analysis, if you're finding it worthwhile so far. The next morning, walking the same road back into the city, Peter notices the fig tree and says, startled, "Rabbi, look, the tree you cursed has withered." Overnight, completely dead, roots and all. Not just the leaves, the whole structure of the thing. This is where the story becomes less about botany and more about what Jesus does with the moment. He doesn't explain the symbolism to his disciples. He pivots immediately to a teaching on faith. Have faith in God. Truly I tell you, if anyone says to this mountain, "Go, throw yourself into the sea," and does not doubt in their heart, but believes that what they say will happen, it will be done. Which is a strange direction to take a dead tree. He's not offering an apology or an explanation for the curse. He's using the tree's sudden, total collapse as proof of concept for a claim about prayer and belief that sounds, on its face, almost reckless. Put the two scenes back together, and the shape becomes clear. A tree that looks fruitful but isn't, judged and withered within a day. A temple that looks devout but isn't, publicly disrupted the same afternoon. Jesus isn't angry at agriculture. He's using the tree as an acted-out verdict on something much larger, a system that had the appearance of bearing fruit for God without actually doing it. That reading also answers the original objection. The curse was never really about whether this particular tree, in this particular week, had any figs to offer. Nobody was going to eat from it either way. The tree's failure to have fruit wasn't the point. Its usefulness as a sign was. Old Testament prophets had already used exactly this image. Jeremiah and Micah and Hosea all describe unfaithful Israel as a fig tree with no fruit or a vineyard gone wild. Jesus' first listeners would have caught the reference immediately, even if it reads as obscure to us now. Within days of this scene, the religious leaders who ran that temple would be part of the plot that got Jesus executed. The tree that looked alive and wasn't, cursed on a Monday morning, turns out to be a preview of exactly what was coming for the institution built around it. So which detail is harder to explain away? A tree cursed for fruit it was never going to grow, or a temple overturned by the same man on the very same day? Tell me what you think below. Next time, the trial itself, and the one question the religious court asks him that he refuses to dodge.